Daily Learning.
The winter comes, yet my lovely family is far away. As the first pale shimmer of frost began to settle on the edges of the window pane, tracing fragile, crystalline patterns like nature's quiet whisper that the seasons had changed once again, I found myself standing still in the center of a silent room, wrapped not in warmth, but in the heavy weight of solitude. For winter had returned, so predictably, so gracefully, and yet so painfully, without the laughter, the voices, or the gentle presence of my beloved family by my side. While the trees outside gradually shed their last stubborn leaves and allowed the cold wind to strip them bare, I too felt a kind of emotional bareness creeping in, the kind that slowly fills the empty spaces in the soul with a quiet ache, especially when the days shorten and the nights stretch on endlessly, wrapped in the kind of darkness that not even the softest candlelight can truly chase away. It was during one of these early winter mornings, when the sun barely mustered the strength to peek over the horizon, casting only a dull golden glow that faded too quickly into a gray monotone, that I began to realize how deeply the absence of familiar faces had begun to affect every part of my being. Not only my thoughts, which were constantly pulled back to sunlit memories and echoes of shared laughter, but also my actions, which grew slower, more hesitant, as though I were trying to move through water, burdened by emotional weight that refused to be set down. Since the moment autumn slipped away without much protest, and winter claimed the world with her breath of ice, I had tried to fill my days with distractions. Small, seemingly purposeful tasks like rearranging the furniture, alphabetizing the pantry, or baking loaves of bread that filled the air with a comforting scent, though no one would be arriving to break them open at the dinner table. But eventually, those efforts lost their charm, and I found myself spending more time simply staring out the window, watching as the season painted everything in shades of white and gray, as if the world itself had entered a quiet mourning. Back then, time seemed to flow in a rhythm tied to togetherness. We would wake slowly, wrapped in layers of wool and laughter, sip hot cocoa from mismatched mugs while planning the day's simple joys, and fall asleep with our hearts full from nothing more than each other's company. But now, as the clock ticks with mechanical indifference and the days bleed into one another without distinction, I find myself clinging to those memories like lifelines, hoping they will keep me afloat through the long winter ahead. It is not merely the physical absence that stings, though the silence in the rooms and the unused chairs certainly amplify the feeling. It is the knowledge that time is moving forward regardless of where we are or who we are with, that seasons will come and go whether or not we gather to mark them, and that the snow will fall whether or not it lands on shoulders linked in affection, or simply on the bare earth, cold and untouched. There is something about winter that magnifies every feeling. Perhaps it is the way the cold strips everything down to its bare essence, revealing not only the strength of trees that must stand tall without their leaves, but also the fragility within ourselves that we try so hard to mask during sunnier days. And in this season, when my family is scattered across distant places and bound by obligations or circumstances that keep us apart, every memory, every echo, every almost forgotten scent feels sharper, more vivid, like it has been dusted off by the frost itself and placed directly in front of me, impossible to ignore. Evenings are the hardest, for it is during those hours, when the sun retreats quickly, leaving the world bathed in early twilight and the corners of the house grow darker sooner than expected, that I feel the absence most acutely. The familiar rituals that once made winter evenings feel sacred, lighting candles together, wrapping gifts, baking cookies we didn't really need, have been replaced by quiet dinners for one, and the sound of the wind howling like a distant song I no longer recognize. Still, even as the longing intensifies and the shadows of memory stretch longer across the walls, I try to find solace in the quiet resilience that winter teaches us, because just as the trees endure their nakedness and the earth slumbers beneath a veil of snow, waiting patiently for the promise of spring, I too can endure this season of distance, holding close the love that connects us even when the roads between us are long and the days feel cold. Though I cannot wrap my arms around them or hear the specific cadence of their laughter bouncing off the walls, I know with certainty that our bond persists in ways that distance cannot diminish. For love, unlike the fleeting warmth of the sun or the temporary fire in the hearth, is not bound by time or space, and even now, scattered as we are, I feel it moving through me like an invisible current, steady and strong. As the weeks pass and the snow deepens, covering the paths and rooftops like a soft, silent lullaby, I begin to notice that even the stillness has its own kind of music, the gentle crackle of ice forming on the edges of the pond, the muffled crunch of footsteps in freshly fallen snow, the distant hoot of an owl echoing through the woods, and in those sounds, however subtle, I find a reminder that the world is still alive, still moving, still holding space for reunions yet to come. Eventually, the holidays will arrive, and though we may not gather as we once did, I will still light the same candles, play the same songs, hang the same decorations with trembling hands and a heart that both aches and hopes, because tradition, though often shared in person, can also live in the gestures we repeat for the sake of memory, for the sake of honoring what once was and believing in what might still be. Even now, as I sit by the window wrapped in an old blanket that smells faintly of cedar and childhood, I allow myself to believe that somewhere, my family is doing the same. Wrapped in their own memories, holding onto the threads of connection that weave us together through seasons of absence and seasons of return. And that eventually, when time allows and paths align, we will gather again beneath a sky heavy with stars or perhaps beneath blooming trees and laugh as though no time had passed at all. Until then, I will continue to move through these winter days with a quiet kind of grace, allowing myself to feel the ache without being consumed by it, to remember without unraveling, and to wait. However long it takes, with a heart still tender, still full, still believing that the warmth of family, though distant now, will always return, just as surely as the seasons do. For winter, despite its chill and silence, carries within it a promise that beneath the cold soil, life is merely resting, that beyond the snow-covered fields, color waits to return, and that even in the absence of touch, love remains, unwavering and unbroken, glowing softly beneath the surface, like embers waiting to be stirred back into flame. So I will light another candle, pour another cup of tea, and wrap myself not only in wool but in memory, in hope, and in love, for though winter has come, and though my lovely family is far away, they are never truly gone from me, not in the ways that matter most. Every morning when I wake up and the light from the sun starts to come through my window, I take a few minutes to think about my day. And one of the first things I remember is that I have promised myself to always spend time improving my English speaking, because I know that if I do it every single day, then my progress will be steady and I will feel more confident when I talk. I usually start by sitting at my desk while the air is still cool and fresh, because I like the calm feeling of the morning. And I use this time to prepare my mind so that I can focus on practicing without feeling rushed. After breakfast in the morning, I choose a short English article or story that I can read out loud slowly because I believe that reading aloud helps me get used to the sounds and rhythm of the language, and it makes me pay attention to how the words are pronounced. While I am reading, I try to pronounce each word clearly, and I also pay attention to the way the sentences rise and fall in tone because speaking naturally is not just about saying words correctly, but also about sounding smooth and clear. Sometimes I repeat one sentence several times until I can say it without stopping or thinking too much, and in this way, I am training my mouth and my tongue to move in a way that feels natural when I speak English. In the late morning when the sun is higher and the streets outside are a little busier, I usually spend time listening to a short audio recording in English. I do this activity because listening is an important part of speaking until I notice that when I hear the same sounds many times it becomes easier to produce them myself. I choose topics that I enjoy so that I can stay motivated, and I repeat certain phrases out loud after I hear them because this makes me remember them better. While I am doing this, I sometimes close my eyes so that I can focus more on the sound and not be distracted by anything around me. And this helps me train my ears and my speaking skills at the same time. During lunchtime in the middle of the day, I try to think of the words I have heard and read in the morning. I use them in simple sentences in my head because I want them to become part of my active vocabulary. If I have my notebook near me, I write some of these sentences down and then read them aloud to myself because I believe that seeing the words on paper and hearing them with my own voice makes them easier to remember. I do this slowly and without hurry because I want to give my brain time to connect the meaning of the words with their sound, and this patient practice makes me feel more confident when I try to use them in real conversation later. In the afternoon, when the sunlight comes through my room at a softer angle, I like to record my voice while speaking in English. This is one of the most helpful ways to see my progress and also to notice my mistakes. I usually choose a topic that I can talk about for a few minutes without stopping, such as my plans for the weekend or my favorite food, because talking about familiar topics helps me focus on how I say things instead of what I should say. After I finish recording, I listen to my voice carefully and compare it to the way native speakers say similar things, and I make notes about what I can improve for the next time. This part of my practice feels a little strange at first, but over time I have learned to enjoy it because I can clearly hear how I am getting better. Later in the afternoon, when the day feels calmer and the outside noise is less, I sometimes stand in front of a mirror and practice speaking to myself. Watching my mouth and facial expressions helps me understand how to produce certain sounds more clearly. I smile when I speak certain sentences. I have read that smiling can make the voice sound warmer and friendlier, and I believe this is important for good communication. While I am doing this, I also pay attention to my posture because standing or sitting with my back straight makes my voice stronger and clearer. Then in the early evening when the sun is about to set, I usually review some of the new words and phrases I practiced during the day, and I try to use them in longer sentences so that I can train my mind to connect ideas smoothly. I sometimes imagine that I am telling a short story to a friend because this makes the practice feel more natural and less like a school exercise. I think about the order of my sentences and try to connect them with words like because, so, although, and when, because these connecting words help me speak in a way that sounds complete and well organized. And the last one, at night after dinner when the house is quiet, I take a few minutes to listen to myself speak again, either by reading a short paragraph out loud or by talking freely about something that happened during the day. This is the time when I can notice if my speaking has become smoother compared to morning, and I often feel a small sense of success when I realize that I can say a sentence more easily than before. I believe that practicing at night is also important because my brain can keep the memory of these words and sentences while I sleep, which makes it easier to remember them the next day. On weekends in the morning, I sometimes change my practice a little by watching a short video in English and repeating what the speaker says. I'm telling you, this helps me learn not just pronunciation but also the natural speed and rhythm of real conversation. I do try to be perfect immediately because I know that speaking well takes time, and I focus instead on getting a little better every time I practice. This weekend practice keeps my learning fresh and prevents me from feeling bored because I am using different activities that all work toward the same goal. Every day from morning until night, I try to connect all these small practices together because I believe that learning a language is not just about one big lesson but about many small steps that are repeated often. I notice that when I miss a day, I feel less confident the next time I speak, and this reminds me why it is important to keep going even when I am busy or tired. The habit of practicing every day makes my mind ready to speak English without hesitation, and this is the main reason I keep my promise to myself. Over time, as I continue this daily routine, I can see the difference in my speaking because words come to me more quickly and my sentences are smoother. I no longer have to think about every single word before I say it, and I can express my ideas with more ease. This change gives me more motivation to keep practicing because I know that the effort I put in every day is bringing me closer to the goal I have in my mind. And now, when I look back at the first days of my practice, I remember both how difficult it felt to speak even a short sentence without stopping, and now I feel proud that I can talk for several minutes about many different topics. I also notice that I make fewer mistakes in pronunciation, and I can hear myself sounding more natural, which makes me happy because it shows that my hard work is paying off. This feeling is one of the best rewards for my daily practice, and it keeps me moving forward. I believe that speaking English well is not just about learning words from a book, but about using them every day in a way that feels real and natural. This is why the most important thing I do every day is to speak out loud, whether I am reading a text, listening and repeating, or recording my own voice, because each of these activities trains a different part of my speaking ability. By doing them together every day, I am building a strong foundation that will help me in any situation where I need to speak English. When I think about the future, I imagine myself speaking with confidence in different places and situations, and I know that this dream is possible because of the small steps I take every day. Each morning, each afternoon, and each night, I am adding to my skills little by little. And even if the progress feels slow sometimes, I trust the process because I can see the results in the way I speak now compared to before. This belief gives me the energy to keep practicing without giving up. So, every day from the moment I wake up until the moment I go to sleep, I remember the promise I made to myself, and I keep doing this one important thing to improve my English speaking. I know that in the end, all these days of practice will come together and make me the speaker I want to be. Can you do the same? Dear Emily. Dear Emily. Hey, it's me, your one and only best friend, Lily. I realize it's been such a long time since I last wrote to you. Life just kind of swept me up in its chaotic little whirlwind, and before I knew it, months had slipped through my fingers like sand. But here I am, finally sitting down with a cup of steaming hot cocoa, wrapped in my cozy, oversized sweater, trying to pour my heart onto this paper for you. First things first, how are you, Em? How's that sunny little town of yours treating you? I bet the skies are still ridiculously bright, and the flowers still bloom like they're starring in their own rom-com. I can almost hear the birds chirping like they're performing in some kind of morning musical. Gosh, how I miss that place. How I miss you. Life here has been a mixture of beautifully chaotic and painfully dull. Some days are bright and bustling with activity, like vibrant confetti exploding in the air. Other days are slow and quiet, like a forgotten song playing softly in the background. Work has been, well, my boss still wears the same tired tie every Monday, and my coworkers are a mix of coffee addicts and meme enthusiasts. I guess that part hasn't changed much. I've been taking long walks in the park lately, especially now that winter has draped its chilly arms around the city. The trees stand like quiet guardians, their branches bare but somehow still elegant, and the streets wear a thin, glistening coat of frost that sparkles under the sleepy afternoon sun. It's beautiful in a kind of lonely, poetic way. But I won't lie, winter has this sneaky way of making me miss you more. Maybe it's because everything feels a little colder, a little quieter, and without you, even the snowflakes seem less magical. Remember when we used to build those ridiculously tiny snowmen on my balcony, drinking hot chocolate and laughing until our cheeks turned pink from the cold? Or those spontaneous movie nights when we'd end up falling asleep halfway through, tangled up in blankets and surrounded by half-eaten snacks? God, I miss those moments so much it almost hurts. You know, the other night, I found that silly playlist we made, the one titled Epic Adventures and Emotional Breakdowns. I played it while cleaning my room, and suddenly it felt like you were right there with me, singing off-key to those cringy pop songs and dramatically acting out the sad ballads. It's funny how music can bring memories back like old friends knocking on your door unexpectedly. I guess what I'm trying to say is, life's just not the same without you. I guess what I'm trying to say is, life's just not the same without you. People here are nice, friendly, polite, sometimes even hilarious. But none of them get me the way you do. No one else knows that I have to eat my fries in even numbers, or that I can't sleep without checking under my bed for imaginary monsters first. Don't judge, it's self-care. You're like the one puzzle piece that makes the whole picture make sense, you know? Lately, I've been trying new things, mostly to fill the void of missing you. I joined a pottery class, and I started journaling again. Sometimes I write letters I'll probably never send, just to let my thoughts have somewhere to go. I even tried baking, emphasis on tried, and let's just say the fire alarm and I are on a first-name basis now. But beyond all that, winter makes me nostalgic. The streets are quieter, as if the world itself is holding its breath, waiting for something or someone to make it feel alive again. The snowflakes drift down like delicate whispers, each one reminding me of the way we used to catch them on our tongues and laugh like kids without a care in the world. The wind hums through the trees, almost as if it's calling your name, and every star in the night sky looks a little lonelier without your laughter beneath it. I wonder, do you ever think about those late-night talks on my porch where we dream about the future like we had it all figured out? Or that summer we spent chasing fireflies until the sky turned lavender and the world felt endless. Those memories feel like faded Polaroids in my heart, still beautiful, still cherished, but a little worn around the edges. And God, Emily, I miss having someone who understands my silences as much as my words. Someone who knows that when I say, I'm fine, what I really mean is please talk to me until I forget why I was sad. It's hard sometimes being surrounded by people but still feeling like you're alone in a crowded room. I guess that's the thing about true friendship. It leaves a gap that no one else can quite fill. The holidays are coming up soon, and while everyone's stringing up lights and baking cookies, I can't help but feel this bittersweet ache. I keep picturing us decorating my tiny apartment, laughing over our terrible taste in tinsel, and getting frosting everywhere. It's strange how happiness and sadness can sit so closely together, like old friends sharing a bench in the cold. But enough about my sentimental ramblings. Tell me everything about your life. How's school? Work? Have you finally started that blog you were always talking about? Or maybe you're busy conquering the world, one iced latte at a time. Please write back soon. I need my dose of Emily wisdom and sarcasm to get me through these frosty days. Until then, I'll keep walking through this sleepy winter town, watching my breath form little clouds in the air, and hoping that somewhere out there, you're looking at the same sky and thinking of me too. Stay warm, stay weird, and stay wonderful. Forever missing you, Lily. Every morning when I wake up and look at my face in the mirror, I sometimes see the things I do not like about myself. And they remind me of the insecurities I have carried for many years because they have been a part of me for so long that I almost forget when they first began. I notice small things like the shape of my body or the way my skin is not as smooth as I wish it could be, and I remember how I used to believe that if I could change these things, I would be happier. I start my day with these thoughts sometimes, and they can make my mood feel heavier, but I also remind myself that this is exactly why I am learning to accept my insecurities one day at a time. After breakfast in the morning, I often scroll through my phone and see pictures of people who look more beautiful, more stylish, or more successful than I feel at that moment. This comparison can make me feel smaller inside, as if I am not good enough in many ways. I see friends with perfect smiles or celebrities with bodies that seem flawless, and I compare them to myself without even realizing I am doing it. When I notice this, I feel a mix of sadness and frustration because I know it is not healthy, yet it happens so naturally. This is one of the challenges I face every day, and it is part of my journey of learning how to stop measuring my worth through the lives of others. In the late morning when I am doing my work or studying, I sometimes remember moments in the past when someone made a comment about how I look or how I speak. And even though they might not have meant to hurt me, their words stayed in my mind for years. I think about how I used to avoid speaking in front of many people because I felt insecure about my voice or my accent, and I used to sit in the back of a room so no one would notice me too much. These habits came from my insecurity, and they stopped me from enjoying experiences that could have made me grow. Then, during lunchtime in the middle of the day, I often think about how my insecurity is not only about my appearance but also about my abilities. I remember comparing my work to the work of others and feeling like mine was always less creative or less perfect. This feeling has sometimes made me delay starting something new because I was afraid that it would not be as good as someone else's result. I realize now that these thoughts have stolen many opportunities from me because I was too busy doubting myself instead of trying and learning. In the afternoon, when the sun is softer, I sometimes look back at my younger self and see how much time I wasted thinking I was not enough. I think about all the days I avoided wearing certain clothes because I thought they would make me look bigger or the times I stayed silent in a conversation because I worried that my opinion was not smart enough. I understand now that these insecurities have shaped how I act and how I see myself, but I am also starting to understand that I can slowly change the way I respond to them. Later, when the day feels calmer, I remind myself that everyone has something they wish they could change, and that even the people who seem confident can also feel insecure. I try to accept that my insecurities are part of being human. And instead of trying to erase them completely, I can learn how to live with them without letting them control me. This does not mean I have to love every single thing about myself immediately, but it means I can treat myself with more kindness instead of constant criticism. Then, in the early evening when the light outside begins to fade, I sometimes practice small steps of acceptance by focusing on the things I do like about myself. I think about my kindness to others, like my ability to listen, my sense of humor, and the way I can make my friends feel comfortable. These qualities are not always visible in a picture, but they are part of what makes me valuable. When I shift my focus from only looking at my flaws to also noticing my strengths, I start to feel lighter and more open to accepting myself. At night after dinner, when the house is quiet, I usually take a few minutes to reflect on the day and notice if I spent too much time comparing myself to others. If I did, I remind myself that comparison is not a fair way to measure worth because I am only seeing part of someone else's life and I do not know their full story. I also remind myself that no one is thinking about my flaws as much as I am because most people are focused on their own lives. This thought helps me breathe easier before I go to bed. And on weekends, in the morning, I sometimes choose to spend time without social media because I know that too much scrolling makes my insecurity stronger. Instead, I spend time doing activities that make me feel proud, like finishing a book, cooking something new, or practicing a skill I really enjoy. These moments help me remember that I can feel good about myself when I focus on my own life rather than comparing it to others. Now I'm going to be honest to you. Every day from morning until night, I work on accepting my insecurity by noticing when it appears and choosing how I respond. Sometimes it still feels heavy, but I try to treat myself like I would treat a friend with understanding and patience. I know that I cannot remove my insecurity overnight, but I can take small steps to live with it in a healthier way. Over time, as I continue this practice, I notice that I am less afraid to show myself in pictures or to speak my opinion in a group. I am also learning to appreciate the things that make me different because they are part of what makes me unique. This slow change feels like progress, and it reminds me that acceptance is a journey, not a single moment. When I look back at the person I was a few years ago, I can see how much I have grown because I am no longer hiding as much as I used to. And I am starting to see my value beyond the way I look or the achievements I have. I still have moments when my insecurity whispers in my mind, but I also have a stronger voice that tells me I am enough. I believe that accepting my insecurity is not about pretending. It does not exist, but about understanding it and choosing not to let it define me. This is why every day from morning until night, I take time to notice my thoughts, challenge the ones that hurt me, and replace them with kinder ones. This daily effort helps me build a better relationship with myself, and I know that over time it will make me feel stronger inside. When I think about the future, I imagine myself living more freely without constantly worrying about how I look or how I compare to others. I know that this vision is possible because of the small moments of acceptance I practice every day. Each morning, each afternoon, and each night, I am learning to be at peace with who I am, and this is the greatest gift I can give myself. So, every day from the moment I wake up until the moment I go to sleep, I remember that accepting my insecurity is a process. And even though it is not always easy, it is always worth the effort because it allows me to live more fully and with more kindness toward myself.